G'day, my name's Nathan Lindsell and welcome to episode number 4 of the Fine Art of Distraction. With today's episode, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be using resin. Sweet. Ew. But before I get started, I just want to show you the dry result of last week's experimental piece, which I think turned out amazing. Here it is. It turned out way better than I even imagined. There's no cracking. The paint didn't warp. It stayed exactly how it was when I left it to dry. So I am so happy with how this turned out. It definitely is my favorite piece that I've ever done. So, you. And what's even better is my wife Tash actually said, "You're not giving this one away. This one's actually going on the wall." So I'm pretty stoked about that. So now I just got to sort of figure out which way we're gonna hang it. But yeah. I'm so happy with how this turned out. So, alrighty. Okay, so as I said, with today's episode, we're going to be using resin. And the other day, I actually got myself a few resin molds. And so what we have an octopus. We also have a jellyfish. And we also have a snake. Sorry, Mum. Mum doesn't like snakes. Well, at least it's not a spider, hey, Mum? Alrighty, so with pouring resin, there's a few different ways that you can actually do it. You can either colour the resin first and then pour it in the molds. And then you run more of a luck challenge sort of thing by pouring colours in rather than doing it the way I'm going to be doing it. The way I'm going to be doing it is I'm actually going to dust the molds first with mica powder, and I'm going to be using this little pigments, otherwise known as TLP. So what I'm actually going to be doing is with a paintbrush, I'm actually going to be dusting on the dry pigment and then pouring the resin over the top of it. With the snake, I'm actually going to do both. I'm going to colour the resin and also dust the actual mold. So basically the front of the snake, like where all the scales are, that'll be coloured like with all the different pigments, but then the body of the snake is actually going to be one whole colour, which I'm going to do like a dark blue, and then I might even do like a bit of a colour down its belly as well. Don't know yet, but we'll see see how I'm going with that one. With the jellyfish, I'm going to be sort of using transparent pigments and also opaque pigments. And what the difference is between those two is opaque, you can't see through it, and transparent, you can see through it. So I'm actually going to be sort of dusting all of the tips of the tentacles in the opaque pigments, and then the transparent is going to be sort of everywhere else. I'm not too sure if I'm going to do it or not, but I'm thinking I might pour a little bit of diamond dust in the resin before I pour it into the mold, just so if I decide to say hang this on a window, I'm hoping that I might get like a bit of a sparkle through it. So yeah, not too sure if I'll do that yet, but I'll see what happens when I get to the table. And last but not least, the octopus. Octopuses are probably one of my favorite sea creatures. Apart from sharks, everyone knows that I love sharks, but I think octopuses are like the aliens of the sea world. The way that they can camouflage within seconds, like going from one spot to the next, is unbelievable. And with this particular one, on its tentacles, it actually has little ringlets. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm actually going to dust them with opaque blue. So then the rings are going to be blue, being a blue ring octopus. Well, hopefully it goes to plan. I've never done this before, so yeah, I'm jumping in the deep end and doing 3. Duh, silly me. But yeah, I think it's going to be fun. And yeah, thanks for joining me on episode number 4. And let's jump over to the table and I'll go through all the products that we're using today. Thanks, guys. Alrighty then, here's all the products that we're going to be using today. And as you can see, there's quite a lot going on. With the colours, they're actually all from TLP pigments. And the colours are NEBULA, SAPPHIRE, NIGHTFALL, or RAVE, GRENACHE, SOCKEYE, SEQUINS, MERMAID, GRUNGE, and watermelon. With this particular pigment just here, it's an interference colour. And what that means, it's a white base with a colour shift. And the colour shift that this one has is violet, which is like a light purple. SOCKEYE, this particular pigment just here, this one also has a colour shift to it. But the base coat is a pink sort of peachy tone with a blue sort of hue tone as the colour shift. The RAVE and the GRUNGE, they're both neon pigments, and I'm only going to be using the neons on little bits of the creatures, because these particular two are actually opaque pigments, and what that means is that you can't see through the colour. So I'm only going to be using the RAVE on all the little rings on the octopus, so then it's going to be a blue ring octopus. And then on the jellyfish, I'll probably just use it just on all the tips, because generally with sea creatures, if they've got bright colours to them, that means that they're poisonous. So, and generally it's just the tips, but in this case it's the rings that sort of are bright. With the resin, I'm using ClearPox. ClearPox is a 2-to-1 ratio mix. You can get lots of other resins that are like 1-to-1 mix. Sometimes you can even get a 1-to-3 mix, but I've got 2-to-1. So basically you mix 2 parts of A to 1 part of B. For example, if I was needing 300 mils of resin, what I would do is I'd get 200 mils of part A to 100 mils of part B. And there's your 2-to-1. You can use these type of cups. These are awesome for measuring resin because as you can see, they actually do have like all the ratio mixtures all the way around on all the different sizes. But I like to use my digital scales just because you get the exact amount that you're after. It's always good to have baby wipes on hand when you're using resin, because resin is quite sticky, and it's a good idea to clean it up straight away. In this bottle just here, it's actually a bottle of isopropyl alcohol. That's also very handy to have on hand when you're trying to clean up resin. But it's also a little trick that a lot of artists use to get rid of air bubbles. Both these will get rid of air bubbles as well. So this is a heat gun, and this is a torch. The difference between those two is this one actually has a flame that comes out, where this one is just heat that comes out. So all of those can get rid of bubbles. But when you're using silicone molds, if you need to use a torch to get rid of bubbles in the resin, make sure you use a very, very, very soft flame on it, because you really shouldn't be putting a flame anywhere near the silicone molds, because they can melt and then fuse to the actual resin, and you won't be able to pull it apart. When you are mixing resin and also torching resin, it's always a very, very, very good idea to use a respirator. Some resin companies say that you don't need a respirator when you're mixing it, but hey, it's your health. Like, wouldn't you just rather put a respirator on and know that you're safe? So I'm very thankful that my uncle George was good enough to buy this for me. So thanks, Uncle George. It's also very good to use a respirator when you're mixing your pigments. And I'm going to be using the respirator quite a lot today, because with the pigments, I'm actually going to be brushing the pigments onto the molds. And pigments are very, very, very small particles. I'll just open this away from me, because I don't actually have the respirator on. But I don't know if you saw that little cloud of dust come off. That was actually just all pigments. So, yeah. Put your health in front of anything, and always wear a respirator, because if you're constantly breathing in this, it's going to sit in your lungs, and it's not going to be good for you in the long run. So if you can't get your hands on a respirator, I mean, the times that we're living in at the moment, where a face mask is like, it's part of your things when you go out, like you get your keys, wallet, phone, and mask. So you could even just use a mask, but a respirator is the safest option. With the paintbrushes that I'll be using, I've got 3 different sizes. Oh, actually, I picked up 3 different sizes. One's a very fine tip, and that's going to be perfect for when I'm trying to do all the little rings on the octopus. And then the flat brush ones are going to be to just brush everything else. But yeah, the fine tip one is great to get all the fine parts. They're actually quite a firm bristle, and I find that that's the best to use when you're brushing molds, because if you have a bristle that's like an old toothbrush, for example, you won't be able to get it exactly where you're needing it. So yeah, a firm bristle is the way to go. Massive need for a level when you're doing resin, or any type of fluid art really, but especially resin. You need to make sure that your surface is 100% level, because otherwise it's like when you walk away at the end and you let it sit overnight, if by chance your surface is not level, it's going to start to pour over. When I'm mixing resin, I actually like to use these plastic stirrers rather than paddle pop sticks, because with paddle pop sticks, when you put it in resin, they sometimes can flake off a little bit. So these plastic ones that come with the ClearPox, when you order ClearPox, they actually send these with it. These are the way to go when you're actually mixing your resin. Alrighty, so now that we've gone through all of that, now I'll get to colour all of these creatures. Alright, thanks guys. Alrighty then, so let's start with the jellyfish, and I've just got a little bit of alcohol here, not to drink obviously, you definitely can't drink this alcohol, but what you can actually use this for is if you accidentally spill some of the pigment powder on somewhere where you don't want, you just dip your cotton wool bud in it, and then you can actually sort of clean it up that way. And also I'm actually just on the very tips where I'm actually going to put the neon pigments, the opaque pigments. I'm actually going to just wet it just a little bit, just so it sticks to it a lot better. So, but before we open up the containers, put the respirator on. You won't be able to hear me properly once I put the respirator on, so just like all my other movies, I'll put some music on in the background. Movies. All my other videos. And I'll put some music on, and yeah, enjoy the music. Alrighty, so the jellyfish has been prepped with the pigment powders. So when I pour the resin on that, sort of you will see that side of it. So yeah, I hope I blended it okay. I mean, it looks okay from here, so we'll soon find out tomorrow when I unmold it. Okay, so again, before we open up the pigments, we put the respirator on, and again, you won't be able to hear what I'm saying, so I will put some music on in the background. Alrighty, so there's all the spots on the octopus done. As you can see, it took a long time, but yeah, there was a bit of cleaning up I had to do as well, but I'm happy with how it looks so far. So let's get on to the SOCKEYE. So with the SOCKEYE, I'm actually just going to do stripes. And then I'm actually going to colour the resin with GRENACHE. So yeah, dust it with a little bit of SOCKEYE, and then put GRENACHE into the resin. Oh, I forgot to say, with the jellyfish, with the sequins, I'm gonna put a little bit of the sequins in with the resin. So I forgot to say that earlier. the octopus done now. So we've got the octopus and the jellyfish. Alright. Next up, the snake. Now it's time to move on to the Slytherin Snake. Bit of a Harry Potter drop there. And of course, before we open up our pigments, I'll put my respirator on. But there's one thing I forgot to actually let you guys know. If you remember in my last episode how I ran out of the battery, which I'm still devastated about, but I've come up with a plan so that doesn't happen anymore. So we have one camera up there, also have another camera just there, and we also have a camera up there. So hello everybody. Alrighty, so once again, when I put my respirator on, you won't be able to hear what I'm saying. So again, I'll put some music on in the background. So, with this one, because with the rings on the octopus was a lot harder than I was expecting it to. I was actually going to colour each individual little scale on here. But I'm thinking that's going to be way too difficult for my expertise, that's for sure. So I'm actually just going to do some sort of blending, sort of some patches. So and the base of the snake is actually going to be done in NEBULA. So yeah, I'm going to sort of do some blending between the SAPPHIRE and the NIGHTFALL, and then I'm going to do some gold sort of patches with the ore. Alrighty, but I might do individual bits on the head. So let's just go for a bit of a play. All right. Thanks, guys. Glasses off while I put this on, and we're strapping up. All right. Safety first, kids. Safety first. All right. So as you can see, I've done a lot of purple and blue blending, which I think already looks awesome. That looks sick. So what I'm actually going to do with a cotton wool bud, I'm actually just going to go over the embezzled scales bits that come up. I want to sort of go over it so I can get rid of the pigment dust, so then I can actually just do a top layer of gold, so then all those little lines, once I pour the resin over the top, then all those little lines that represent the scales hopefully should be gold. So the scales themselves will be like purple and blue, but then all the lines I'm hoping to be gold. So fingers crossed, and let's get to it. Alrighty. So we've done all the dusting, and now we're going to do some resining. So in the resin for the snake, I'm going to put the colour, actually, Nebula. In the Octopus, I'm going to put the colour GRENACHE. And in the Jellyfish, I'm going to use the colour SEQUINS. Alright, so I'll tidy this up a little bit, and then we'll get ready to pour some resin. Alrighty, so we're here with the resin, and as I said, it's a 2 to 1. Oh, sorry, 2 to 1 ratio. So we've got part A just here and part B. So we're doing 2 parts of A and 1 part of B. Now, before I dusted all of these, what I actually did, I brought them into the kitchen and poured water into them. I poured water into them so I knew how much resin I needed. So, for example, the Jellyfish, that needs 400 mils of resin. The Octopus needs 300 mils, and the snake needs 200 mils. So that equals 900 mils, but it's always best to go a little bit up. So we'll take it to like 1,000 mils, and then to sort of work out the ratio, the easiest thing to do is to divide it by 3. So 1,000 divided by 3 is like 333.33333333. So what we'll do to make it easier on myself when I'm sort of measuring it, I'll do it to 990 mils. So then it's basically just 330 mils that I need for the part B, and 660 mils for the part A. Alright, so turn on the digital scales. Now, as I said, these particular containers actually have measurements on the sides, but I always like to use my scales. And as you can see here, by putting an empty container on, you're actually seeing that the container weighs a little bit. So what you need to do, you need to clear out the reading. So now it's reading so there's nothing on top of it. Even though there is a container on there, it's actually saying that there's nothing there. So we need to pour 330 mils of part B. Oh, close enough. 331. Oh no, 330. You beauty! Happy days. Alright, so now we need 660. So the best thing to do is clear that out. So now you've got you're working with an empty slate again. And we want 660 mils of part A. And there we go, right on 660. And we can get rid of that. Okay, so now as I said before, I like to use the plastic sticks, or I think they're actually silicone sticks, I don't know. The plastic sticks to stir the resin. Now you want to stir this for about 3 minutes. It's always a good idea to, after every time you've stopped stirring, especially with these plastic sticks, to actually wipe them down so then they're ready to go all the time. Alrighty, so if I was to actually leave this resin in here as one whole big unit, it would actually do what's called a flash cure, where it'd actually, all the chemicals would actually like sort of form together really quickly, and then it'll go really, really hot and cure, and you won't be able to pour it. So what you're best off doing is pouring it into several little containers. So what I might do 100 in each cup, and that way I know what cups are going for what creature. I get the scales back out. Clear that off. And now we'll pour 100 mils in this one. Oh, actually, hang on. We don't have it on mils anymore. Now it's on mils. Alright. Well, that's got 110 in it, so that's not too bad. So lucky I saw that was on ounces instead of mils, because otherwise I would have been putting 100 ounces in there, and I would have been going, where did all my resin go? Alright, because that one had 110 in it, this one can have 90. $95 is close enough. Oop. Bit heavy-handed on that one. Alright, yeah, so there was 120 in that, so I've got 90 on each of those. Alrighty, so now we just play the waiting game, and now we're just going to wait for all of these, for all the air bubbles to sort of release, and then I'll start putting some colours in them. With the excess resin, Tash has a little vase, silicone mold that she wanted a little vase for. So yeah, with the excess resin, I'll just pour it in there and make a little vase. So what's always a good idea also, when you've poured your resin into the small cups, just keep an eye on the heat of them, because you will start to know when they start to cure, because they'll start to get really hot. So at the moment, they're still very cold because I've only just mixed them. And as the air bubbles start to release over time, when that time starts to tick over, that's when it actually starts to cure. So yeah, just keep an eye on it. And also, make sure that your table's level. So I've actually got boards on my table, which I've put popsicle sticks under all the corners just to make sure it's all nice and level. But as you can see there, it's smack bang right in the middle. So I made sure the whole sort of platform was done, and I actually used two boards just to make sure I could get it exact all the way around. So yeah, make sure that you're level. Okay, so I think it's about time to sort of start put the pigments into the resin. So let's mask up again, and we'll get to pouring the pigments into the resin. Alrighty, so we'll come back tomorrow and unmold them and see how they came out. Alright, thanks guys. Alrighty guys, well here's the resin. It's all nice and solid and ready to be demolded. I think I might demold Tash's little vase first, just because that was a bit of just a side sort of thing. So I think that turned out pretty cool. That sort of like made its own little dripping sort of patterns there. It's actually quite a cool little buzz. So I hope Tash likes it. Yeah. Alright, so let's get on to the real ones. So I think what we might do, I might do the jellyfish first, and then I'll do the octopus, and then I'll do the snake, because I'm really looking forward to seeing how the snake turns out. So we'll pop him there. And what we'll do, we'll turn it over. So it's just so we can sort of release it from all its sides. And ready, 1, 2, 3. That turned out awesome. I love that. That's so cool. And you can see remember how I said it had a violet color, the color violet as the color shift? See that? That's so cool. Now, this green here is actually done with neon pigments. So after this, I'll grab my UV light. I'll turn it on and see what it looks like. But I'm so happy with how that blended together. For my first attempt at doing the dust work, I'm really happy. Yoo-hoo! All right, let's go, Mr. Okinua. When my dad and my brother and myself used to go fishing, my dad actually did catch an octopus one time, and we named it Mr. Okinua. Alright, obviously didn't keep it, but alright, so let's unmold this one. Alrighty, so after 3, 1, 2, 3. Oh wow. The The blue rings didn't really pop out all that much, but they are also done with neon pigments. So yeah, when I turn the neon light on, hopefully they actually pop through. But yeah, I think the red overtook the blue a little bit, but I'm still very happy with how that turned out. It's very much the colour of what we see a lot of our octopuses here in Australia. So that's number 2. Very happy with also. Yee-hoo-hoo-hoo. Alrighty, now the snake. Alright. How cool is that green/blue? It's such a nice colour. And I'm glad I sort of, as I was pouring it, sort of followed it down. So then it had that sort of solid sort of stripe down the middle. I love it. I think that's my new favourite colour. Alright, so let's get to demolding. Alrighty, so again after 3, 1, 2, 3. Oh wow! I love it. That's sick. You got the blue in the middle with the purple on the edge, and then it did actually work. It's got like the gold in between it a little bit. So my plan worked. Sort of. Bled a little bit there, but that's okay. But that, oh, I just love the texture on it. That's cool. So you've got that sort of blue, sort of purple and gold on one side, and then on the other, the green sort of blue. That colour's called Nebula by this little piggy. But yeah. Alright. Alright guys, so for my first attempt at dusting pigments, I think I've had a victory. I'm really happy with how all these turned out. Yeah, so absolutely stoked, guys. All right, so give me 2 seconds, and I'll just get the neon light, and yeah, and hopefully we see that the green and the blue on these two sort of pop. So fingers crossed that works. Anyway, give me 2 seconds. Okay, so we've got the octopus. I've just put my my last painting on as a background, just because I thought it sort of suited the scene. And let's turn on the neon light, and yeah, unfortunately, the blue didn't really shine through all that much. I mean, it did a little bit. But the jellyfish, on the other hand, oh my god, check out this. It is like lit up. How insane is that? So yeah, oh man, I'm just like over the moon with how awesome that turned out. Alrighty guys, so there's all, oh, sorry about knocking the, alrighty guys, so there's all the resin pieces. I'd like to thank you all for joining me on my 4th episode. If you're new to my channel and you like what you see, I'd love it if you'd hit the subscribe button. And those that have subscribed, if you hit the little bell, that's like the notification bell. So when I do set my next premiere, you'll get notified straight away. So yeah, thanks again, guys. And this is the fine art of distraction.